Okay, hello peeps out there in internet land who are watching us. Hopefully you're going to have a good night tonight watching our very long and probably off-topic discussion of Annihilation, the film, not the books. I don't think anyone here has read the books. Am I correct?
I have. I've read the first one.
Oh, okay.
I've read the first one too.
So we do have a couple of people who can talk to the books as a comparison. Yay. Yeah, we're discussing Annihilation, the film, which for us in Australia was available on Netflix, direct to Netflix, which was a very first and new thing. And I thought that was fantastic. Yay, let's do more of that.
Especially when I can't get to the movies very often.
Well, I think since they didn't do any sort of, like, there's heaps of movies that get no release in Australia at all. Why not do something like this where, you know, you get all the hype that comes, like word of mouth stuff that comes from America, and I can just go watch it straight away on Netflix. Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I'm all for more of that. That would be great.
Yeah.
If you have such a task. Okay, I did not write a list of questions or anything, and I'm not going to do, well, what did you learn? So who wants to jump in?
Sorry, Mel, you broke up a bit for me.
Sorry, I was just saying that I'm not going to bother with doing a going down the line, what did you think kind of thing, because I'm just going to move us forward. So anybody want to jump in and share any thoughts?
The first thing I want to say is spoilers ahead.
Oh, God, yeah.
We're just going to indemnify ourselves. Spoilers.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But to be fair, there's always spoilers in our hangouts. So
that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
All right. Come on, Sarah. I know you got something.
Oh, I really enjoyed it. I have to say, I was watching it and I went, and I'm going to do my thing where, yeah, I remember now. This is why I wanted Matt to be here. I was like, and I didn't know until I had to look it up and went, fuck, this is like an Alex Garland film. And sure enough, it's an Alex Garland film.
What has he made before?
He made Sunshine,
Ex Machina,
Sunshine, The Beach.
Sunshine,
Ex Machina was enough by itself to understand what you mean.
Yeah. And I really like Sunshine, and there was a lot of like Matt. I know you know Sunshine as well. It was very comparatively like, who's going to be left alive by the end of this? So, no, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the characters. I liked how it was kind of less horrific as in horror, as opposed to, you know, I think there had been some worry we talked about whether it was going to be really scary. And I mean, I have to admit the whole Death Bear was
I was about to say, it has one of like the scariest movie monsters of the last 20 years.
Absolutely. And I do have some questions around the Death Bear, but I thought for me it's that I thought the science was dealt with really well, and how, you know, it made a lot of sense from that point of view. I thought it was shot beautifully, obviously, and I agree with trying to do distribution through online media services, because I don't go to the movies. Movies cost a lot of money, so we're really picky and choosy about what we go and see. Like, I think it's $24 a seat to go to the movies now. Like, that's a lot. So, you know,
not to mention you've got to try and find a babysitter
and a car, and you're going to cut a car park, and then you want so. For me, I was like, I hope they're getting a really good audience and profit share through this. So, I thought Natalie Portman was really good. I'm always keen to see Oscar Isaac in anything. Yes, and
actually, Natalie Portman and Oscar Isaacs. Yes.
It's a little Star Wars family get together.
It totally was. But I thought it was really, really interesting and good. And I always like seeing Alex Garland films, because you're like, look, it's all the same people again. So had what's his name? Johnny? I can't remember. The guy who was running the interview, I recognized him from
that's
what's his name?
Benny Wong.
Yes, Benny Wong. Yeah, Benedict Wong. So I was like going, oh, it's Benny. Yeah, I was very excited to see it.
He's the dude from the Dharma Initiative thing, right?
No.
Am I thinking of the wrong thing?
Yeah, you can.
So he was in Sunshine, And he was also in, we watched The Martian. He was in that as well.
Oh, okay.
And he's in Doctor Strange.
And Doctor Strange, that's right. I got more excited about seeing him in Doctor Strange than anything else. I was like, so yeah. Anyway, that's me. Who's next?
Valkyrie and Thor, and I was like, yes.
Hang on, there's lots of breaking up.
Oh Jesus! The chick who played the Valkyrie in Thor.
Yes.
She was in it too.
Yeah.
Oh yes, of course.
It took Tessa Thompson. It actually took Naomi telling me who she was for her to go, oh, because she's just such a different
slightly
character.
different role. Yeah.
I've remembered what.
Is she the one who got freaked out?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Because the other one was in Westworld.
Yes. Not that I've seen Westworld. I just looked after I looked up Tessa Thompson to confirm that I was right. I saw like who was in what,
and I was looking up the other one. I was going, wow, she's a really different character from the one she is in Westworld again. So it shows the excellent acting.
I thought, in general, the whole thing had a stellar cast. Like it was a really good cast. I don't understand why it was such a low release in Australia. I don't understand what was going on there.
The story that I heard was that it was like, Australians not smart enough for this movie.
Well, that's funny coming from America.
Right. Oh my God. It's not even intelligent. It was all women scientists, and I was probably the only reason I was willing to put myself through it was that element alone. But it didn't require a lot of brain power or anything.
No, you didn't have to understand the science despite them talking about it. It wasn't like a major...
I mean, there's a lot of subtext there as well about, stages of grief and all of that I think that maybe they were like, well, audiences won't get all of this that's going on as well, but you don't need to enjoy the movie.
No, you
don't. It's an interesting aspect of it, but it's definitely not something you need to comprehend in order to watch a movie.
And I also feel like a lot of that stuff probably benefits from second watchings anyway.
Yeah. And from discussion and then coming back and rewatching it, which is again why being on Netflix is good, because then you can rewatch. And I actually was rewatching bits of it tonight, and I've enjoyed rewatching it and taking new things in and my favorite scenes and seeing things I hadn't seen before. So in some ways, being in a distribution style that you can do that is really good for them, because it is something you kind of go, I want to go back and look at that again, or now I know that. How do I read the scene knowing it now?
Well, that's what I liked about this film. It's one of those films that you think about more after you've seen it, and then you realize more after you've seen it, and then the rewatching of those bits, or I went and read a few articles of other people watching it, and they noticed things that I didn't, but I noticed things that they didn't. And, people who have read the books as well. So that's what I enjoyed about it.
Quick question on the books, Matt. Does the trilogy? What is this cover?
This covers the first book.
The first book, okay.
Just Annihilation. So Alex Garland didn't read the book when he adapted it, or he didn't read it all. He didn't read any of the other two either. So it differs from the novel in a few ways, because he sort of said I'm just interested in making this story and not any of the other business.
I don't want to make the universe. Just the story.
Yeah, he wanted to tell that particular story, and that was encompassed in just the ideas from the first book. So, for example, it's very explicit from the opening scene that this is an extraterrestrial thing that's come to Earth, because you see it going through the atmosphere and crashing into the lighthouse. In the books, I haven't read book 2 and 3, but at least in Annihilation, there's no mention. It's a big mystery about where this has come from. Is it something that is native to Earth? Has it come from, out of Earth? Is it supernatural? So you don't have any idea of that. So that was, for example, a change. They changed a few other bits and pieces as well, but he was just that's how I want to do it. So
I'm actually really glad that they've just decided to make it as a single film rather than trying to take advantage of the current trend and trying to do a whole series. Yeah.
The other, I guess, the most obvious difference from a visual perspective is the shimmer, which in the book is not visible. There's no visible barrier between where Area X ends and where the rest of the world sort of is. It's just there. You only notice it when you sort of step through and you feel this disorientation, but that doesn't work so well in a visual medium like film.
No.
So you have the funky soap bubble effect, which I thought was kind of cool too.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, sorry.
I was just going to say the other thing that I noticed, because I'd forgotten most of the book, and I thought, oh, it'll come back to me when I start watching the movie, and I was like, nah, still don't remember any of the book anymore, except for a couple of key things that I remember. Like I remember her going down into the tunnely thing, and there was it was very different. A lot of things were different, but
yeah, I know.
One of the
we'll talk
things
about
that was very different was that the characters in the book are not referred to by name. They're referred to as the psychologist, the biologist.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so I found it quite confusing at the beginning because I kept forgetting which one was which because
they didn't talk about their jobs.
And I kept forgetting which one had which job, which made me forget who was who kind of thing.
Yeah, I couldn't say that stuck in my head either. I mean, but I couldn't tell you their names either.
Yeah, I guess so. But I think because I kept trying to remember what had happened in the book, and I remembered certain characters from the book, but I remembered, the psychologist did this. And
were they referred to by their sex, like because it's an all-female? Did they say all female in that?
Like I don't remember. Do you remember, Matt, whether they were female or male in the book? I know there was definitely some female.
They were all female.
I didn't remember
There's a particular point they make in the book about they've had limited, like they know when there are dudes on the team, shit goes wrong. So they decide to send an all women team for a change. That was a particular thing that they mentioned in the book.
Right.
So it was the author's choice.
So in the book, according to this, there's a biologist, an anthropologist, a psychologist, and a surveyor. I don't think that matches completely.
No.
There are also 5 scientists in the movie and only 4 in the book.
Oh, that is interesting.
Yeah.
I'll just have a couple of extra general thoughts while I am on a roll, and then I'll hand over. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very visually pleasing. I enjoyed the look of the film. I got a great sense of the main similarity between the book and the film for me was the sense of uneasiness that I got. So when I was reading the book, I kept feeling sort of like it's sort of familiar, but I really have this uneasy sense about I don't know what's going on and anything could be happening. And I felt that was captured very well in the movie as well. I had this constant sense of like waiting for something to happen, not quite sure what's going on, kind of feeling, which I liked as well. And yeah, at the end, I had that moment where I think I've only had with like 2 or 3 other films where it just ends. And I just sort of sit there in silence for about 5 minutes, just staring at the screen, digesting. So, yeah, I enjoyed it.
Anybody else want to add anything? Did anybody feel differently?
I'm going to carry on from what Matt said about that feeling of uneasiness. I can't say that I didn't dislike it. But saying that I enjoyed it feels wrong as well, just because that sense of uneasiness made it hard for me to walk away and say, oh, I really enjoyed that film. I appreciate that film. Like I said, that the bear thing is like one of the scariest things in the last however many, like that was horrifying.
Which is not in the book either. That was a creation for the movie too.
And everyone did just a brilliant job, and I enjoyed going away and thinking about it afterwards. But to say that I enjoyed it is not the right word.
I would agree with you, Karina. I can't say that I enjoyed it, but I also feel like now that I know that this is the same director, I feel like that's something that's very similar for me for these sorts of films in general. Like I certainly couldn't say I enjoyed Ex Machina, but I didn't hate it. and I thought it made
same, but for different reasons.
Yeah, different reasons, but same sort of feeling at the end. And he obviously likes to push his genre to do different things, so that's fair. And so I didn't hate it. Would I say I would ever watch it again? Not in a hurry. I considered it today just in preparation for this, but I didn't end up doing it, and I'm kind of glad I didn't because I really didn't want to have to deal with the bear again.
So you did see the bear, Mel?
On mute, yes, I did.
Oh, but you missed. If he was on mute, you missed the best part.
You did.
Oh no, I know that she was throwing the voice. I knew that because I saw that like before I muted it because it was coming and the voice was happening before the bear came in, and
it clicked.
Oh, it made my skin crawl.
You had that moment of click before you went mute.
Yeah, and that's when I had to mute it. I was like, "Fuck this!"
Just you guys talking about
we pre-warned her of the spots she wouldn't be able to handle. So
yeah. Plus, I mean, you guys probably don't watch with subtitles, but I did. But it actually specified in the subtitles whose voice it was.
No,
So
I was watching. We watched with subtitles too because we're old.
I think we watched with subtitles as well because our Netflix just keeps automatically turning subtitles on and we're not inclined to turn them off.
So I watch everything with subtitles. It just helps. So, in fact, it's actually a really interesting thing. If you watch with subtitles, there's things you get that you wouldn't catch with your hearing anyway.
Yeah. And in that bear scene with the skull bear, it had every word. And that was the thing I didn't.
That was creepy. It was creepy enough with subtitles without having to put the sound on.
Yeah. So good.
Got to admit, good scary job.
Who else has got any thoughts?
I think I agree with what Mel and Karina were saying. Like, I wouldn't say I enjoyed it per se, but I found it really interesting. I did find myself a lot of the time trying to remember. I think that probably spoiled it a little bit for me was because that I was sitting there going, what happened in the book again? Like, if I'd remembered the book really well, it wouldn't have bothered me that they changed things. Because I really enjoyed Ready Player One and they changed a shitload of things in that and I still liked it because I was able to just go, yeah, maybe it's a different thing. They changed a bunch of stuff and I was okay with it. Whereas this I was like, I didn't remember the book very well, so I was kept trying to go, did this happen in the book and I just forgot it? And I don't remember that happening, but maybe I'm just not remembering it. And so I think a lot of the time it kind of brought me out of it because I kept trying to remember whether I knew that from the book. Which, but that was my own fault because I read the book ages ago and I forgot most of it. So, but it sort of, I definitely agree with that creepy kind of feeling. It's like that feeling like you're on the edge of a cliff, like, you know, like something bad is going to happen. And I don't know what it is, but something bad is going to happen and I'm waiting for it to happen and it's freaking me out. That kind of feeling. Yeah.
I must admit too, like less bad things happen than I was expecting because I was just anticipating it so much.
Yeah, exactly. And that was when I was thinking about it at the end. I was like, well, actually, it wasn't as many scary bits as I thought there would be.
But that's what
there was just a whole lot of waiting for the scary things.
Yeah, it didn't need to be scary bits. Yeah.
No, you get that. And when it is scary, that works so much better because you've had this whole build-up of unease all the way and you're like, is something going to happen? Oh, I don't know. Is something going to happen? No. And then when it happens, you're like, oh.
See, and the thing that bothered me...
And then you realise it's already happened.
Yeah.
Right?
The thing that bothered me more than the bear thing was when they were cutting that thing out of his chest, out of his belly.
Oh, God, yes. Oh, that was awful. And then they followed it up with...
Mel.
I watched it because I didn't know what was going to happen, but I kind of knew I needed to see it. But I was doing the whole, do I have to see this? and then they find the big, like the dude's body on the. I was just like, this is just creeping me out.
Is it Ventros? Is that her name? Ventros. She knew because she knew the building. She'd been there before, and she was like, I know where this is. And that's why she went off to wherever it was in the pool or something. But that but I found that was like very much like, oh, you know, and I think again, like I think he's quite an expert in pushing things without pushing them over into shtick, as it were, like becoming too like that was just enough.
Yeah.
And then we had, because I have to admit, I did get a little bit of a jump scare with the crocodile, the shark crocodile.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
See, I was expecting that scene because that was the one that I knew the most about.
See, I tried to go blah, 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 not know anything, but yeah. But I actually think for me, what was more, I guess, upsetting or terrifying was the final scene, was the dance scene.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like and actually I didn't really read it right, and I popped into the chat in Google Hangouts an article that's kind of helped me, which I read because I did the same thing as Jean. I read a few things after, and this is one of them that kind of helped me see it from a different point of view. Like she talks about her getting in her own way because it's part of her, and I hadn't kind of seen it that way, and I wanted to rewatch it to see what it was. So, but yeah, initially watching that dance scene, watching that was like. Yeah, that was a bit freaky.
So you didn't realise that it was becoming her as it was happening?
I knew it was of her. What I didn't know when I watched it was, like, because it's not quite obvious, is it trying to stop her, or is it mirroring her, or what, like, it is hard to work it out.
Bit of both, I would have said.
Yeah, it was a bit of both until the end. And that was, that's the big thing is the Lena that got out the one that we
that's the question.
That's the question.
And at the end, the Lena actually went up to the Cain and put her hand on the head of Cain, the body of Cain, and I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. Do not know at the end. It was a bit of a. I watched a few YouTube videos where they do like an explain Annihilation thing, and it was really interesting. Did you guys notice the tattoo?
Yeah. No, I noticed that.
Yeah.
I thought that I didn't notice it when I was watching, but having that sort of explained to me, I was like, because I noticed the tattoo, but I didn't really make the connection of what was going on. And so
I don't think I know what was going on when you say that. So I remember saying to Matt, did she always have that tattoo, or just is that new? And Matt went, I don't know. But that's probably
tattoo was it? Because it was on a few people.
The tattoo was on one of the other scientists.
Yeah, it was on the army, the one who got killed, who ran off.
It was on the Valkyrie chick as well.
Yeah.
Oh, see, we must have missed that, because I remember saying to Matt, like in the scene with the doppelganger or whatever she was.
And
she had her arm kind of on the ground, and I went, she didn't always have that tattoo, did she? And Matt went,
there's the scene. She's actually
wasn't it originally on one of the other teams.
It was on one of the points. Yeah, and then Dene's moving around in their the refractoring. What was it called?
Refracting.
So there, and the one, she was the one who was freaking out about she's saying, I can see my skin move. And there was a scene where Natalie Portman's character was testing her blood, and you can see that the tattoo started.
This is the sort of stuff you need to rewatch it.
Well, that was one of the reasons why I was going to rewatch it, but I was just like, I know about it now, it's fine. I don't need to do the bear.
I had to immediately rewind and rewatch the scene where I can't remember anybody's bloody names. The Westworld woman turns into a plant. I can't remember her name. Because she on our TV's not very good quality actually, and I actually could see it a lot more clearly on my phone, which goes to show you. So I remember seeing her arm where her scars were, and I remember thinking, it looks like there's something growing there. She's turning into a plant. And she stood up, and the back of her arms. At first you're like, wow, she's looking ripped. There was just something going on with her arms, and then she went off and became one of the three people. But I had to rewind that. So again, I was like, I'm so glad this is on Netflix, because I'm going to rewind that scene. I'm going to rewatch what happens with her arms. It was very cool.
This is definitely the kind of movie that I think is better when it's released on something like Netflix for watching. I would be just frustrated having seen it at the cinema because you couldn't do things like that. I needed it because I could pause.
I don't think it would be nearly as creepy at the cinema either, to be honest.
Oh, really?
See, you say that, but I saw lots of US people saying that this is a movie that needs to be watched in a cinema. Because it makes the atmosphere.
I understand where they're coming from, but I could not have watched this in a cinema.
Yeah. But that's exactly why, because it makes it more intense, you know.
Yeah,
like,
I know but it's because I can't deal with that. So yeah.
Although sometimes being surrounded by 100 other people makes things a little less intense.
Yeah.
It's hard to be too scared about something, and then it's when there's 100 other people sitting around you.
Yeah, I would agree with that if I had someone with me, but I tend to sit on the side when I go to the movies, away from people. So if I was by myself, which Nye refused to watch this movie, point blank.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he refused to watch it. He doesn't. I will watch a scary movie if it intrigues me, and this movie intrigued me. Nye doesn't do scary at all. Not because he's frightened the way I am. He's just like, he doesn't see the point.
Okay. That's interesting, because I think this one has more going on for it than scares and all that kind of thing.
Yeah,
I think
that's scary than I thought it was going to be.
If I told him it was by the same person who did Ex Machina, he'd be even less interested. He just doesn't like that kind of movie.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, okay, that's fair enough, yeah. Whereas Kevin was like wanting to watch it with me. I was like, well, you know, and I watched it on my own, so yeah, that was something.
Oh, that's what I had to do too. But I was like, I'm starting in the morning, so there's plenty of time after it finishes.
Did anyone else have any major thoughts? Chris, Kim, Naomi?
No, not much to add except how beautiful it was. Even like the gross stuff was somehow done quite beautifully. Like the pool scene, even though that was disgusting, it was quite beautifully done in a way.
Yeah,
it was magnificent, really. Like magnificent art, horror. Yeah.
There certainly was money behind this. They really did put their attention to detail.
Did anyone notice? I didn't. I thought I saw it, but I struggled to see it on our crap TV. But did anyone notice how, is it Ventress? Is that her name? At the end, when she's in the cave, her face is all.
Yes, it was. She was blind at first.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we sort of had to do a bit of a double take of, is this actually happening?
Yeah. I had to look it up straight away because I was like, did I misunderstand what happened there? I saw it, but I didn't know what was going on.
Her face was someone said her face was moving. But I didn't see it really moving, other than I just saw that she was blank. And
I felt like there was a lot of things that were just really unclear. Like, I understand that DNA was changing and things, and I get that side of it. But I'm not even talking about the ending, but just little things like time moving faster, and it's like, well, why?
What?
Sorry. Don't worry. Naomi's calling out to bed.
I heard cheesecake.
I heard cheesecake.
I don't remember cheesecake in the movie, but
people can hear us. Sorry.
Naomi has her priorities on straight. That's the
absolutely.
And Kat was trying to eat the whole entire cheesecake.
Very important.
That required someone yelling out something to say.
Absolutely.
I suggest you
cheesecake with it online.
I don't understand if DNA was affecting them, but it took a while for the DNA to affect them. Then why did it all of a sudden give them a time jump right at the beginning?
Yeah, it's true. I did think that too, other than maybe the shimmer passing through the shimmer.
No, it's not about DNA. It's about everything within the bubble, if you like, of the shimmer was affected. And it wasn't just DNA. That was one of the things that was being affected within it. Time was another thing.
Right, okay. So, I think that was something
reflecting as well.
Yeah, they did. I felt like that wasn't very clear. That was sort of part of what was going on. So I'm not saying that made it bad by any means. It just was sort of there was lots of questions, and I felt like the only real question they were wanting to leave open in the film was the was it her or was it the doppelganger at the end? But I was like, I feel like there's a whole heap of other stuff going on here that I really would have liked to explain.
There's the other thought that it's neither of them.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
I found this. It's neither the original nor the duplicate. It's some new...
the second she stepped into the shimmer, she changed.
Yeah, it's true.
Right? So even if it was
so
the original that first stepped through, she's given.
Yeah,
She's-
because
yeah.
that's what. So here's what my thing was about Oscar Isaac's character when he was. Is someone in the kitchen somewhere? Would you mind muting? Is that somebody's kitchen?
Yeah, we need to stop being in here because people are fucking noisy.
Well, we know who it is now, so that's
Yeah.
It's like
Okay.
when my mum is on the phone and she puts the phone like next to the
But-
dishes and like I'm like, the dishes are louder than you. How is that even possible? Like
dishes are actually very loud sound.
that reverberates through or something. Like, why does that sound carry so much more than like the talking sound?
Yeah, I don't know. So anyway, so when Oscar Isaacs is giving his chat to the camera before he pulls the pin.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh, which of them is which?
Which of them is sitting on the ground? Because
Yeah.
here's one thing I noticed. I'm like he was talking and I was like, that accent is super Southern. And I don't remember that character having a really Southern accent like that. The other thing that I thought about was, because I was thinking about, I don't know, was it Cassie? Was that the name of the one who was more sort of army-ish, and then she kind of tied everybody up? Oh, I'm going to look up the character's name on this.
She was the Valkyrie one.
Is that that one? Because I need to get people names. She was saying, I'm changing, and who am I? And I wondered if. So one of my thoughts is even though it looks like Oscar Isaacs, or the character Kane, is it him combined with all these other people he's been with? Like, is it actually like his accents from somebody else? And that was one of the things, like he was saying, Lena, but he was like, am I you? Who am, like, he was very like confused about who
like
he was.
with her tattoo.
Yeah, and that's like obviously they're taking on different, and that was one of the questions, and I don't know if I haven't looked up to see if anyone else noticed it, but I was like, when they were when they were in bed discussing things, he did not sound as Southern. Maybe I'll have to go back and rewatch those, but I was like, he sounded very droll and Southern in the grenade scene, whereas he wasn't elsewhere, and I was like,
but see, I think that makes it even more likely that the one who set off the detonator was the one that was actually originally him, because she was gaining the tattoo beforehand. I think it's more likely the doppelganger was the
one that came back to her.
But then he's not. But then the interesting thing is, what got created at the end is still
not him.
Yeah. And this is what makes you think
it's still
the same
a
thing.
combination of DNA of everything that was inside the bubble.
Which also explains why he was so disorientated when he found her and got to her and everything, right?
Yeah, he's like, And when she asked him, "You're not Kane, are you?" And he's like, "I don't think so. I don't know. I don't know who I am."
Yeah. Because one of the things that I found fascinating about it is that I didn't feel like there was actually intelligence behind it. It was just a process, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like evolution.
Yeah.
It was like a terramorph,
Terramorph?
Well, it was changing things, but it didn't have a conscience to change things. It was just there to change things.
Yeah, it didn't have direction behind it.
Yeah.
And it like that dance at the end, I was actually looking at it like perhaps it was learning.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah. I think
that's why it's obvious that's why she got out, but because she made it to the center and she made it to that core gene, and so was able to leave, if that makes sense. So no one else was able to leave the bubble. They were all consumed by what was inside, but none of them made it to that center room. She made it to that center room, and she became part of the Shimmer. And
but then
so she was able to leave.
Yeah, but then so did Kane. And that's why
so
he was
did
allowed to leave.
So did Ventress.
She was
okay. What the hell happened to Ventress?
I do not know.
Well, so there's a thing, odd. Right? In the book,
the way it happened was very.
So I got spoiled about this, right? In the book, you don't know that she's got cancer. Okay. That's not something that comes out till the later books.
Right.
Okay.
But you find that out in the movie. And so the thing that I read where she decided that, you know, it was non-curable. She just decided that was how she was going to die. So she just went in and was like, okay, I'm going to be.
Yeah, but
I've had enough.
The way I totally get that, but it all okay. So I know it's a movie and there's liberties, but the timing, like she seemed to be just kind of enjoying being part of it and sensing it. And then she was like, now we're going to annihilate, you know, and then it's annihilation. And then, but the way it happened was kind of like the light spewing forth and then her body being completely drained of matter just seemed a bit, I don't know.
It felt like a way for them to say what was going on. Like, I feel like that bit wasn't in the book. I don't know. I didn't read the book, but that felt like something that had been altered somehow to fit in the word annihilation or something like that.
Yeah.
None of the ending and none of the stuff that happened in the pit, like in the cavey part, was in the books.
Right.
Like there's no doppelganger duplicate thing. I forget what they call it. It's got a name, but it runs around and rips people apart, and it's very clearly intelligent, not a mirror of anyone, and it writes on walls. It writes messages on walls in English, and stuff in the book. So it's very different. So you have to take that part on its own merits in the movie.
Yeah, which I guess I was looking at it going for that as another, and maybe it's because, you know, it seemed kind of like spaghettification. I just thought if she was going to become matter, it could have been done a little bit more like, I don't know. I don't know. It just seemed a little bit, you know, taking liberties and like, we'll just literally do it like we do in a super human being. And then what happened after, I kind of liked how it became this very 2001 oil. That was kind of cool. The
sort of drew her in.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of cool.
But so what happened to Ventress in the Shimmer in the book?
I can't remember exactly, but it's very different. I don't think she dies.
I thought they all died in the book except for her, except for the main.
I can't remember.
Character. I don't remember. I
don't mind spoiling myself because I've read the book, but
there was a lot of weird stuff where like that she went down as this whole thing with that had like a ladder going down it right at the beginning of the movie, in the beginning of the book.
Oh yeah, she was totally sabotaging.
She was taking samples of like moss or some crap that was on the wall, and it sprayed this stuff in her face. And then there was I only have these little memories of things, and then there was this whole bit where the psychologist was doing stuff to people when they were sleeping or something.
Yeah, she was like doing all kinds of shit.
It was all very different, and I just kept thinking, have I remembered everything wrong, or is like
you're really telling me that I did the right choice not reading this book, because it just sounds like
it was quite confusing. I think.
Yeah, I just like I can deal with lack of resolution on plot points in a movie because it's not so much time commitment, but in a book I want resolution.
Yeah, it was very much one of those things where you had to just let go of the fact that you didn't know what the hell was going on most of the time. You had to just go, I just have to accept that I don't know what's going on.
Like Primer.
Yes, very much like that.
Yeah.
I was just thinking before about the whole which one is the real one of the doppelganger and all of that. And they did do quite a lot of talking about cells dividing. So maybe neither of them is real. Neither of them is the original. Maybe the original somehow split into two.
Yeah.
And like we didn't see that, but do you know what I mean? Like maybe in some way they're both from the original, but the original no longer exists. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
like a cell dividing, because they keep talking about dividing cells.
Yeah, and she doesn't exist. Like, what's her name? Lena doesn't exist anymore because she started morphing into Josie and she's taking on all these other things. So, she doesn't exist as her anymore.
Who am I? He said before he blew himself up.
Am I you? Are you me? You know, so and I guess by the same token, then he is also parts of the crew that he was with. So that, like we said, it's probably why he was so, like, his clone didn't know, you know, like, it doesn't have the memories, but is also of 4 or 5 different people.
I just found it fascinating that, like, our mains, they just turned into different versions of the humans, but other characters that were there were gaining traits that were coming from other creatures and other, like, from the plants and from the animals and things, but they didn't gain any of that. They just took on things from the other humans. And I was like, I think Josie, who was the Valkyrie, she was taking on things from the other humans, but what's her name? Anya, is that her?
A plant.
Yeah, Anya didn't want to go. Like, and then she said there was that really good where she said, Ventress wants to face it. You want to, fight it. I don't want either of those things, and she's happy to be with it. And I think maybe that was part of it. In a weird way, you do have some control over what you're taking on, I guess. I thought, and then there was another bit where, he asked.
Just lost her.
Yep.
It's not just me tonight, yay.
Into her DNA, and I think maybe it was the same thing for Kane.
Sorry,
You're
Sarah.
gonna have to repeat that, Sarah.
Oh, did I cut
lost
out?
you right in the middle of that.
Oh, damn! I thought Matt was disagreeing with me. He was like, so there was a bit where, is it Lomax? I think, basically Benny Wong's character was saying to Lena, everybody else is dead. Why you? Why did you get out? And she said, because I was the only one who had something to come back for, which is her husband. And I wonder if that was kind of it. And Kane was the same. He wanted to come back for Lena. And that's why they got as far as they did, and why their new clones of themselves could get out, because innately built into them was a fight, a push, a strive, a struggle. It was innately built into their DNA and taken with them by whatever clones that they had.
See, I actually disagree with that, especially from Kane's perspective, because one of the major plot points was the fact that he was actually disillusioned with their relationship because she cheated. And that was sort of the suggestion that I took from it, was that he was actually feeling self-destructive because of that, which is why he was going early and why he was happy to go on this mission. And
that's a good point. I don't think of that, but I do know that by the time he was at the end and he was saying, find Lena, he was saying that, like, I meant, like, I don't know. It's interesting.
But see, I took the find Lena thing.
Unresolved
he thought
issues.
Lena, unresolved issues. And also I feel like he was like, find Lena because she was somebody who might be able to deal with what was going on, because it was DNA related.
Yeah, okay. All good points.
But I think that's one of the things about this kind of storytelling, is that there's so many different ways to see it based on what you pick up on, what details you sort of really take strength from. And, like, it's not just one story. This is everybody. It's like reading a book. It's everybody's story based on how they view it and what parts and details they absorb. So,
well, I think that's why, like, Ventress turned into the matter, because she was like, I'm ready to die. I'm ready to just let go and be part of whatever this is. And that's when she turned into, like, the glowy, glittery matter. What's her name that turned into the tree? I think she ended up turning into a tree because she was like, I don't want to fight this. I just want to grow into it. And the only way she could do that and not have any more fighting would be to become plant-like rather than to start becoming an animal.
Yeah. And I think, if you think, because I think that was the thing, that everybody came in with trauma. That was the thing. Like, what's her name? Tess? No, what's her name? See, I'm having to go back and check. Cass. Cass had lost a child. I can't remember what Josie's story was. She wanted to leave though, but Anya, she she wore. Remember they said she's got long sleeves, like
because she was cutting herself.
Didn't Josie have addiction problems?
That was it. Thank you. Yeah, because I remember Cass and Lena talking, and she was saying everybody's got trauma. She was saying like everyone's got a reason to be here. And they didn't know what Ventress's thing was, and then worked, or did she know? I can't remember. She's like, I worked it out.
Yeah,
she said, I kind of worked it out. Yeah, that was it.
She was the only one who knew because she'd sort of figured it out.
Mm. Yeah.
But they're also saying because she was the one who was sending all the teams. That's Ventress, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
She was the one sending everyone, but she never went.
Yeah, she was curious.
Yeah.
Well, not
And
just
she was
that. I
also
think
sending
that
all these people that never came back. So that's sort of a trauma in itself, that she's sending all these people. She's picking the people that are going and not coming back. So she feels like she's picking people to go and die.
and she knew she was dying herself.
And she
so
was new,
picking
yeah.
people to
Yeah,
die,
I think that the
I
two
think
things
was weighing
combined.
on her. Like she knew, why am I picking people to die when I'm dying myself? I should just go and see if I can finish this, because if I die, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Did anybody else psychology of a military base like that and like in charge of this whole thing? Like it made so much more sense for some other type of scientist to be in charge of all of that, not a psychologist.
I wondered if she was the last one left.
Possible.
And the others had gone prior. Yeah, because it was odd. I thought that too. I was like, why would you?
I have no problem with a psychologist being there and being a major part of the mission, that sort of stuff. But leading it seemed weird. Like
that's the bit that I thought was weird. But I thought, maybe she's the only one left.
Yeah.
But I mean, as a psychologist, she's probably the best person to put together teams.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking.
I don't dispute that, but that's just not how the military works, though.
Yeah. But she it may not be that she's in charge. She's just in charge of putting together the teams, and because that's the point of view that we had, that was what we were seeing.
Well,
like where was Lomax? We didn't meet Lomax until after. Is that his name? Yeah, Lomax. We didn't meet him until after, but perhaps he was in charge. We just don't.
Yeah, in the I don't know how well they do it in the movie, but in the books, it's like Area X has been there for quite a long time, and they've been going through like teams and teams and teams and teams, and it's probably not surprising that they've changed.
She definitely said
who's in charge
this
over
is where
time.
it was 2 years ago. She definitely said that. Like that's when they got to the base. She
over
said this is
10 years at least in the book.
Oh wow, right.
And the other thing is
the base that they go to the building they go to in the movie, it was a base originally. It had been overtaken by the Shimmer.
Yeah.
So the other thing is too, if they sent a lot of teams and they knew that people were going crazy and people were having like psychotic breakdowns and killing each other and all the shit that was going on in
they did. Yeah, they didn't know that. They didn't know. Like Josie said, like we think it'll be one of two things: one, something's killing them, or two, they're going nuts and killing each other.
Didn't they say something about? Wasn't it like the men's teams were always going wrong? That's why they sent women.
That was in the book.
That's in the book, but it's not in the movie. In the movie, they had no idea what was happening in there at all.
Yeah. I think given the short time period, it makes sense that they didn't know.
Like they say in the beginning, it's like as soon as you go in, you can't get a signal out. So no, they didn't know anything.
Yeah.
Do you like my view of Kiki this whole time?
I've been admiring it, and then I'm looking at my view of Moose. I'll show you guys.
I was just thinking that possibly the wig that they lost at the very beginning was the actual split of cells, as it were. Like maybe that's when we lost them. Like we lost a wig because they had their initial sort of split, and that's when they started taking on DNA from other parts of the Shimmer.
Yeah, just going through the wall, possibly. That's what I thought too. I thought they've entered it, like they've gone through the outside of it, and just that enough is a lot for the body to handle, and had to kind of but they seem to have been able to put up tents and
Yeah, they were like woke up intense.
Yeah, it kind of didn't seem like they'd lost a week. It was they'd forgotten a week.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, not that they lost a week, but their body was under so much stress because they were cell splitting, as it were, and taking on this other DNA, and that's why they couldn't remember losing, like, using a week's worth of rations and setting up tents and doing campsites and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So I have a problem with Skull Bear, and my issue with Skull Bear, but saying that it is Skull Bear. What was it? Was it by the power of Grayskull?
He-Man.
Yeah.
Cringer and Battle Cat.
Watching the bear, the thing, and I know it's taken on DNA of all kinds of other things as well, right? So I know this doesn't quite ring true, but knowing what I know about bears, they don't just kill and then not do anything with the body. Like, if they're killing, and this is true for most animals, they're killing for a reason. They're not gonna like go, okay, that one's dead. Yeah, I don't feel like eating it right now. Let's just go wander over here and see, what. Like that was my only issue. But I am aware that it's not really a bear.
What if it was not human? Humans are great at killing things and then doing nothing.
That's a good point. Oh, yeah.
But we
like
know
that.
it was part human, don't we?
We do know it's part human. That's a really good point.
Well, that's what I was about to say, that possibly and the part of the human that it's sort of absorbing is when people are terrified because it's being attacked by something that's part bear, part human, that each time it kills a person, it's getting more and more of that fear and that fight response. And that's making it even more aggressive because it's like, got to get these things. Got to get these.
Scary.
That's really good, and I'm glad I brought that up because that now explains it to me in a way that I feel like thank you. And I had a question on, because it didn't with Cassie. Did it kill Cassie, or had it eaten her at all? Like, I know Natalie.
I felt like it absorbed her.
No, because when Lena went and found her, she went and found Cassie right afterwards to make sure she was dead. I can't remember what state Cassie's body was in.
I don't mean absorb as in she was taken entirely into the body. I mean her DNA was absorbed.
No, I know that, but I'm trying to remember after attacking and taking off with Cassie, what did
what happened?
Like the body.
I felt like the body looked fairly intact, at least.
Cassie was the first one to die, wasn't she? Yes, she was barely damaged at all. Like,
that was the thing that didn't strike me as being. But then, like you say, if the bear's taking on humanistic traits, also been killing soldiers, this makes sense. That actually it wants to stalk prey and just like a cat play with it. Like that might be.
The other potential human behavior there is to do that behavior as a psychological warfare against others as well.
Yeah,
shocking them by doing something terrible to the bodies.
Yeah.
I felt like the bear wasn't supposed to be logical in its actions. Like it wasn't hunting, it wasn't looking for food, it was doing weird things, but that was what like almost everything in the Shimmer was like. It was like, I don't understand what's going on.
Yeah. And that's why I just wanted to clarify, and that's been helpful to clarify because it isn't doing like, that was good because I felt like
all the regular laws of nature are kind of out the window.
Yeah.
Like
whereas
from
the shark crocodile was acting a lot more like the predator that it was, and it was wanted to eat you. Like that's what it wanted. But that makes sense.
But also, a normal crocodile probably wouldn't take on, 5 people at once. Not a normal one.
Well, a really hungry one might.
Oh yeah, you never know.
When she was pulled back by the crocodile, it didn't seem like she was being pulled by her legs. It was like she was being pulled from her shoulders. And that really put me off because, I mean, like a crocodile is like really low to the ground. Yeah. It's going to be grabbing someone from the leg or even from like the hip. But she was like pulled back by like her backpack. Like,
That's what I must have grabbed her backpack.
And I don't know what it was because I thought it was like some kind of snake or
Or even some sort of person that had gone crazy.
Yeah, like because I do remember the same thing as well. I grabbed her backpack, and that's not how either shark or
and there was no death roll, was there?
Yeah,
well,
it didn't death roll her.
It was like it was very Star Wars, you know.
I don't know if that was because it was like an accident in filming. Oh, okay.
See,
Karina just found
the still of when they find first girl's body. She had her throat ripped out. That's it.
Okay. I felt like the thing was that wasn't consistent enough, but what I felt like was what's going on was that the animals were almost insane. Like, the reason I don't think it was consistent is because when she saw the deer, they didn't seem insane. They seemed fairly normal deer-like.
Maybe it depended on how much contact the animals had with the humans.
Possible.
And if you think about deer, they keep as far away from other animals as possible.
True. And that was the thing I was
on with them? Have they developed like
trees?
They had
tree
antlers.
Tree antlers, yeah, which makes sense because they're going to be much more with the trees.
And they scratch trees with their antlers, right?
Yeah. That was cool. I couldn't remember what it was.
I liked the deer.
Yeah, I like
made up the bear thing for me. I was like, oh, the deer are so lovely. And then it's like, till they start mirroring each other, and then you're like, what are the deer doing? Please stop.
Please stop. You're creeping me out.
Be normal deer.
Oh, gosh.
So that's interesting. So, like, is that mirroring, was that a behaviour of two deers, or were they
one deer
like an original
they got
duplicate?
cloned. Yeah.
And did they have to go down into the hole to meet the fancy particle alien thing?
It seems like something a deer wouldn't do.
And an ultimate side effect of being out in the shimmer for a long time.
I suppose that's probably a side effect of being out in the shimmer that the deer has split. Something I did want to bring up was the trees shaped like humans in that village. Were they humans that had been left behind in the shimmer that turned into trees, or trees that had echoed human shape because they're
I got the feeling from what they were talking about that there were trees that are echoing human shape.
At first I thought that.
But then she turned into a tree.
Then she walked off and turned into a tree. And then, because that was the bit, like at first you thought it was that, and then she walked out, and all Lena saw were tree people.
I did question whether she actually did turn into a tree or whether she just disappeared.
No, she turned into a tree.
She turned into a tree. She was growing all the trees.
Yeah. Semi-conscious decision.
I'm not disputing that she was turning in that direction. I'm saying that we did not have a confirmation that she was one of the tree people standing there that she saw.
And you couldn't pick which one was her either.
No.
Yeah, and I think that was a deliberate choice by the director, was that question exactly that we raised, which was, well, is she just now part of the grass? Is she a hedge?
Yeah.
Like, is she now just fully this, or is she one of the tree people? You've just shown me 8 tree people, and you've made you before we had an assumption that they were trees taking on humanistic traits, but are they humans taking on tree traits? You know.
Well, they did say that the trees shaped like humans would have human DNA. They weren't so they had to pick up the DNA from somewhere, whether it be from like a hairbrush or from a human that had been there.
Yeah, I thought
it had to be from DNA from something, whether it be people that were left behind, stuff that was just left behind that had DNA on it, or teams coming through.
But the previous teams were men, and they were lady trees.
They were lady trees, yeah.
That's true. And child trees.
They weren't all exclusively men, though.
And I also feel like
weren't they?
No, they were mixed.
They started off all men, and then they had mixed teams. Then they worked out that having men's a bad idea.
Okay.
I think the other thing though is that there's a possibility they were using DNA that was not live at the time. So, like someone said, that DNA from a brush or something, because in an area. In America's ecology, to have deer in the same area as a alligator is weird.
Yeah.
Like alligators are in the south, deer in the north. What the hell? So I'm sort of like, okay, was it someone's pet? I mean, that's a possibility. But
was there a zoo?
Yeah, I mean, there's possible
A petting
answers.
zoo, yeah, could have been a petting zoo.
But
Because from memory, Area X is like at least hundreds of miles
it was
in diameter, if not more. So
I'm not disputing that's a possibility.
Whatever was there, yeah.
I'm just pointing out that it seemed like a bit of an aberration in that respect.
Penguins and polar bears together.
Exactly, because people forget penguins don't live in the north.
No,
they both live in the snow, right? Doesn't matter.
Exactly, people equate them for that reason only, and it's like, it doesn't work that way, dude.
Yeah, the bears and I kind of, it's a good point, because I was imagining the place to be, like Newfoundland, or like somewhere in that kind of north eastern seaboard region. I don't know why. Probably the lighthouse is what.
Yes, the lighthouse. Yeah.
But you're right. So the deer and the bears make sense, right? But you're right about that. But didn't they say something at the beginning about how it's gone almost tropical? Didn't they say something like that?
It was really interesting in that respect. Like the area where the crocodile, sorry, it wasn't a crocodile, it was an alligator.
It was an alligator, yeah.
The area where the alligator was looked like the south. The style of the building, the way the building was set up next to a swampy kind of area, it looked very much like the south. But the rest of the whole thing did not look like the south whatsoever.
And to your point, if it had been in the south, there wouldn't have been a bear there. The bears don't live in the south.
Exactly. And even if, I'm willing to accept that maybe there was an alligator or a crocodile or whatever in a zoo, but still the area that it was living in was definitely not a zoo. And an alligator or a crocodile would not be able to live in the cold waters of the north.
No. Here's something even more to blow your mind. Guess where it was filmed?
Where?
The UK.
Well, that would be why it doesn't really feel like anywhere in America.
Else.
It did sort of feel like that mid sort of section on the coast of America, but it didn't as well, and that would be why, because it's filmed in the UK. It just doesn't have that like either northern or southern American feel. Like that's just something it's missing.
Especially the beach scene, that definitely had the inconsistency.
I kind of thought, like, to your point, like I thought kind of northern seaboard, northeastern seaboard, but it could have very well been like Georgia and down that way, because the sharks then would make sense, like not Florida.
Jeff Vandermeer lives in Florida himself, the author.
Okay.
But it seems like I'm just doing some reading now. And it seems like they don't actually say exactly where it is or how big it is, but there's a general sort of thinking that Area X does contain Florida in it, but the whole of Area X is not just Florida. It's bigger than that.
See, I'm actually more willing to accept a bear having gotten out of a zoo and wandering around than an alligator being in the wrong area.
Yeah. And to be fair, that bear was also quite boar-like, so boars would make sense.
Yeah.
Maybe with its DNA changing and moving, it became,
if it's a combination of like some sort of dog or wolf, a boar, and a shark, that may end up looking very bear-like. Like it'll have that muzzle and that sort of teethy sort of feel, but it'll also be very coarse hair and sort of aggressive.
Here you go. The inspiration for Annihilation and the Area X was he did this hike through northwestern Florida, the St. Mark's National Wildlife Refuge.
There you go.
So that doesn't place it there. That's just his inspiration.
Yeah, which I was like thinking Atlanta, Georgia. Not Atlanta, but Georgia.
Once
and
you get up
Carolina, North and South Carolina and Georgia and that kind of area. I just popped another one in the group chat around the bear and how they and it's interesting because it kind of follows exactly on from what you guys had said and made me think about how the boar bear or the skull bear was taking on more and more human traits that they completely, from what they said here, is that in the visual effects, they used human skull stuff to merge with the bear. So I think that that totally backs up and validates the theory of it, saying as it's taken on more and more victims, it's become very warped in its sense of why it's killing. Like, yeah.
And it's become, I wonder if it's becoming conscious. Oh my God, it gets more and more creepy.
So my thing is that in the end, like, I'm assuming that there's no intelligence behind all of this process. And it's like, to me, the process itself was sending the animals insane. It's like, when would it stop? Would it slow down? Would it just keep going?
This is interesting. This backs up. Oh, okay. There's just an ad come on. It says,
was it gaining intelligence as it gained human DNA as well?
Yeah. So the visual effects supervisor said, he said, so it says, even as the bear carries out a graphic, violent mauling, not unlike that of the Revenant, which I've never seen and I don't want to watch because Kevin said it would look depressing. It's not meant to be just a weapon of terror, he says. It's an animal who doesn't really know what has become and is clearly suffering. And that side of the story was important because you didn't want something that was just this horrific killing machine. You wanted a creature that was in a situation that was not of its own making and it was unable to deal with it. Which is
kind of felt
exactly what you guys said
as well, like horrified and sorry for the poor bear and horrified again.
And in a lot of
they
respects,
also named the bear.
Yeah, are you reading this? It says the screaming bear does have a name. One is unexpectedly inspired by that of a more famous and much kinder bear from another film. The visual effects supervisor also worked on 2014's Paddington.
They named the bear Homerton after the name of the station. So the bear's name is Homerton.
Yeah. So
it makes it sound a little less creepy. Funny.
Cute.
It does take away the creepiness factor, but at the same time, it also, the concept of it makes it even scary. The machine is scary, but it's just like one thing. But like a thing that's insane and it doesn't know what it's doing or what's going on is almost scarier.
Yeah.
Coming at you with the voice of your friend that it just killed. Oh my God.
And I mean, because like if it is sort of that combination sort of different types of animals' DNA as well as human DNA, like that would be why it's so confused and like flashing out, because it's like, what am I? How do I function? What are these things doing in my area? Like, like it's probably got just enough sense of self for it to know that there is a lot wrong, but not know, like not have enough intelligence to really understand what's going on.
Yeah.
That's going to be terrifying for anything.
Yeah, like if you think about it, could have killed like a family dog and then taken on this innate sense of wanting to be around humans, but then doesn't know how to be. Like the fact that it came into the house.
How do I dog?
How do I dog? But I'm not a dog, but I want to be a dog. But
well, I mean, the other thing is if it did do something like eat a family dog and take on those traits of I want to be near a human, if it went near a team of humans that were, say, a bunch of men that were very scared of large animals that have large teeth, they probably would have started shooting at it. And then it would have taken that as a, oh, God, that's a threat. I'm going to attack this thing. And then taken on that fear of that human and that sort of, you know, I need to attack the thing that seems scary to me.
Yeah. And then add into that the fact that most animals learn from being with other animals. So it's alone. It doesn't know what it is and it's alone. So that would be very confusing.
It's alone, it's scared, so it's probably just going to attack whatever it comes across, regardless, just to protect itself.
I'm feeling sad for Skull Bear now.
Yeah. I think I could watch that scene less horrified now. Or more horrified, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm a little bit in both directions.
Horrified in a different way.
Yeah.
See, the thing with an insane creature is like you've lost predictability. Whereas, like, if you're like, okay, this is an animal that wants to eat me, that's scary, but at least I know why it's chasing me. Like, and you kind of understand its motivations, and you can almost know what to expect. Whereas when it's insane, it's like, well, what the hell is going on? I don't know, you know.
And it probably didn't help that by the time it would have met humans, those humans would have been a little bit nutty from all the like shimmer and all that sort of stuff as well. Like,
well, everything it was encountering would have been having that problem.
Yeah, and I mean, like they, you know, the team that they saw the video, they were like cutting each other, like he was cutting that guy open while he was still alive.
How did he know? That's the other thing. Did you guys think about that? Like, obviously, like, I think it'll be fine if we just cut him open.
I think they must have seen it moving.
I know, but why did you think that was a a good idea? I don't know. Like,
were they thinking clearly at this point?
That's a good idea.
I thought it was weird. I thought it was weird. They were just cutting each other open. I was like, they wanted to see what the hell was going on. This wasn't a, like, just to hurt him kind of thing. This was a, we could see something was wrong and we needed to show what was going on kind of thing. Like,
yeah.
But then they didn't cut him open a little bit. They cut him open a lot.
Yeah.
Yes, this is true.
Yeah.
And they also
like a little bit, I understand, a lot, not so much.
They didn't try and
surprise.
And also they didn't try and do anything to like help his pain first. They were just like, we'll just hold you down and then cut you open.
I got the feeling that he wasn't feeling a lot of pain, actually.
Yeah, so did I.
I
didn't
kind
seem
of
to be
felt
feeling
that
a lot
too.
of pain.
But they kept going, it's going to be okay, buddy. I'm like, how in God's world is this going to be okay? And then sure enough, he's grown up the wall.
I think that's, I just felt like that was what you say to someone when you've got to do that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So.
I think that either he shot himself or someone shot him because it seemed like his skull had been
shattered,
exploded or shattered.
Yeah, I just thought that was because of what had grown. Like, but yeah, but you may be right. Yeah.
I felt personally like that they were that group wasn't attacking each other or anything along those lines. No. They were just
Crazy.
they were just going a bit crazy and things were really weird and shit. But
I don't think they were attacking one another, but it was like not a safe environment.
No.
You know what it reminded me of?
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I was just going to say it reminded me of an early X-Files episode called Ice. And they had these worm things that were under their skin and it would go in their back of their necks. And, like, you'd see this worm crawling under the skin and they had to kind of try and get the worm out.
Yeah.
That's what it made me think of when they were trying to cut this thing out of this guy. Like, that was kind of...
To be fair, that stuck with me. Like, when I close my eyes and I feel scared about this movie, it's that scene with the worm and he's...
See, I didn't even think it was a worm. I just thought it was his entire insides. Like, it was his intestines.
I didn't know what it was supposed to be.
Since watching this movie, I've read stuff about your intestines and how they, you know, obviously they contract continually, but how when you have surgery, they actually... have to, when they remove them from your stomach to get at other things, they have to hang them up because they get in the way because they're continually like
there's a lot of
that
there's a lot
fluctuations. So I'm like,
and when they
sure they did that with my insides at some point.
Yeah, and when they put them back in, you really, you know, that's why they have to be so careful because that's, you know, you're popping things back, you know, you're putting them back in, and that's not where they were necessarily, and yeah, it takes a time. Like, I know people suffer really, like, a lot of pain afterwards because you're just, you know, bloating and trying to work. Yeah. Everything's trying to settle back into the where it was. And, you know, like, yeah, I've heard that.
And now every time I think about that scene, that's what I think about as well. So I've got this double horror thing going on.
I remember my friend saying, she goes, they put everything, like, one of my friends was in a massive, like a really bad motorcycle accident, and she goes, his belly button's now off to the side. She's like, they put everything back in, his belly button's off to the side a little bit. His belly button isn't normal anymore because they stitched him up and it kind of went sideways a little bit because he had to open his entire abdomen.
There you go. So the small intestine is 6 meters. And the large intestine is 1.5. There's a lot of stuff. That's a lot in there. That's a lot in there. that's a good swimming pool.
Well, when they do, I don't know for sure. Like, please correct me if I'm wrong. But when you do a C-section, they must have to get past all that.
They have to push it out of the way. And again, I mean, you know, talk to Kirsten. She's had one.
Talk to Matt. He's the one who got to see it.
Yeah,
I didn't get to see it.
I thought there would be a curtain.
A C-section is usually below everything. Like it's sort of
so you just sort of
down
push it
underneath. So they're really just
the
pushing it
scar is
upwards.
like,
It's not like they're pulling it outwards. Like they just
Yeah.
push it up inside and then get to the, because when you're pregnant, obviously your uterus is like
It's
popped
all
right out.
Yeah.
It's not like
You
it's not like
really
you're
move most of
It's
it
already
anyway.
pushed all your organs
I
out.
think
Yeah.
they actually take your uterus out though. Is that
no.
true
So what
or
I mean
not?
is that because you've got the baby and your uterus is like pushed all of your intestines upwards, they don't need to really push anything because it's already up against the skin.
Like,
like if you ever look at like Google a picture of like what a pregnant woman's intestines and stuff look like.
no, thank you.
It's like it makes you realize why it's so uncomfortable in the last month or so, because it's like, all my organs are all squished up here and at the back, and like, no wonder I'm uncomfortable.
No.
Like,
And then,
They-
and then the first, and then
out.
that first bit. Oh, sorry, go G. Someone
They
said her.
pulled my intestines out for my appendix
Yeah.
because my bowel was actually wrapped around it.
Oh,
So they had
That's
to
your
pull
life
my
problem. I'm
intestines
sorry,
out.
G.
Yeah. Oh, they're like, keyhole surgery, it'll be like an hour, you'll be fine. It's like 4 hours later, I come out with a C-section scar that's probably bigger than Kirsten's. I'm like,
probably would
right.
be. Mine's like that. Like, I don't even know how Xander's head.
Yeah, mine's bigger than that.
Cool.
And how
They do really good C-sections now. Like the scar is really small,
I
and
was going
like
to say, my sister's is huge. What the hell?
Mine's
they
massive.
last,
about
the last like 5 to 8 years have gotten really good with very small scars. They use glue now instead of like lots of stitches.
Yeah.
Like it's,
I think
the technology has come forward.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it can also depend whether it's an emergency.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
so like if it's planned, then you can there's the body's also not stressed at that point. Whereas
And I wasn't, having contractions or anything like that.
Yeah.
Like it was planned in the.
Whereas my sister had been in labour for like 2 days, and
so she's already quite stressed.
she wasn't going fully into labour though, and she wasn't dilating.
and they start worrying that the baby's not.
And she was already overdue, like by 2 weeks, and they reduced.
Well, whereas mine was like, your baby.
That baby just didn't want to come out, did it?
No, she didn't. There's a reason I'm scared of childbirth.
I think with Xander,
your sister could have died from exhaustion. Like that would have been the case years ago.
And
I couldn't.
Her, and she wouldn't go into labour, and they ended up putting her on this drip to induce it, and then she went into hard contractions that didn't stop. Like she was just screaming non-stop.
Oh my God.
And then they were like, we think we're going to do a C-section. And she's like, no,
That's worse than screaming bear.
Yeah.
Screaming labour.
My brother-in-law was just like, oh my God, this is awful.
Yeah.
And I'm having to do a play. I'm on a stage because I was stuck doing this play, and it was awful. It was just an awful time. It was traumatic. And then my sister couldn't breastfeed because everything just went wrong in her body because everything was just bad. But she was all like, I'm going to do natural birth, and she was just so upset about it all. And awful. She was just a mess.
Yeah, mine was the almost the opposite. It was, I went into the doctor, and the doctor was like, yeah, your baby's not growing anymore. We need to get him out. And we booked you in for this afternoon in like 3 hours time. And I was like, so it was planned, but like I didn't know it was going to happen until a couple of hours before it actually happened. Like it wasn't like you rushed into the emergency and they're trying to save the baby's life. I mean, they were trying to save his life because the placenta had stopped feeding him, so he needed to come out.
Yeah,
but yeah, it wasn't. It was very calm. You went in, and then the thing where they wouldn't let Matt come in until after I'd had my epidural and whatever it's called, spinal block.
Really?
And I was like,
no. It was very frustrating.
No, they didn't let him in until after they'd done it. So I'm sitting on the edge of the bed, and they're trying to put this needle in my back.
I've had one too.
And I'm like, where's my husband? I need him to hold my hand. And there's this 12-year-old male nurse sitting there holding my hand, and like he looked more nervous than I was.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. I am never having a baby.
when I had it, they couldn't find, because apparently something going on with my seat. Kevin, the anaesthetist actually turned to Kevin and said, if you do this again, you need to know this, because he knew I wouldn't remember, because I don't remember.
Yeah.
And it was just basically, if you need to do this again, there's a compression between here and here, tell your anaesthetist to aim for this area. And I'm like, thank God Kevin's here to take this on board, because I would have remembered. And apparently he, like, that's all, like, you know, I don't remember what it is, but Kevin totally remembers. Not that I remember doing it again, but he remembers. Like, if I ever need to get a spinal block for anything, he can tell the anaesthetist.
You know,
Yeah, I was going to say,
if you watched Annihilation and you felt scared, here's a few more horror stories for you.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you ever need a spinal block for anything, sometimes they do, like, not a complete spinal block like you would have while you're giving birth, but they do like a spinal block so they can do, like, biopsies and things like that in a day unit.
Yeah.
So
the one that I had was not the same as what you get when you have a like an epidural. So, like, if you have an epidural that's for pain relief in labour, they leave the little tube in so they can keep giving you drugs. Whereas mine wasn't. It was one needle. That was it. And I was like,
well, they used the site to give me my spinal block, because I had the epidural and then I had a spinal block because I had to have because they didn't know if I was going to have an emergency C. They basically said, we're going in with the forceps, push really fucking hard. And because I was at that point, I'm like going, I've been doing this for 26 hours. I'm not gone through all of this just to end up with this, you know, even worse recovery with a C-section. So and so they got her out with forceps. Thank God, because they were saying, like, this is it. If we can't get it with forceps, we've got to go. And that's why they did it, and they do it as well. So, and I'd been so stressed about tearing and all of that kind of stuff. And then
it's like you don't even know.
And I didn't feel a thing.
I was lying there going, like, I need drugs. I need more drugs. And the nurse was like, let's try some morphine. And I'm like, yeah, that's going to fucking do nothing, but okay. Because I kind of felt like I had to say yes to that. Otherwise, they wouldn't let me have the epidural, because they're like, let's try this and see if it works.
Work your way up to it.
And so I had the morphine, and then I'm like, yeah, I don't know why people say morphine's so good, because it didn't feel any different to me. It made me sleepy, which was really fun because I just got woken up every time I almost went to sleep. I was getting contractions every 2 minutes, and it was like, well, I can't go to sleep, but the morphine's making me want to go to sleep, but it's not making it stop hurting so I can go to sleep. Then I'm like, no, I do need an epidural. And then by the time the dude turned up, oh, sorry, it's too late now. You just have to push. And I was like, that's not how this is supposed to go.
No, I think they were, because they're not allowed to advise you. You have to make a decision. But I could tell that they were like, you know, so I was like, oh, do I keep going? And they were just like, and they're like, you know, say, well, if you'd like one, they could take 2 hours to get here. And so kind of like saying, just let's get him to get her or him to come, and then we'll go for, like, in other words, I think they could tell, like, you were going to get exhausted really, like, this is not going fast and well, you know.
Whereas I think for me, they were actually deliberately delaying him, because they were like, she's nearly there. She just
whereas for me,
if we delay it, she's not going to need it.
She's going to be exhausted. Yeah, and I slept a good proportion, like, on and off for it. So, you know, I wouldn't have made it. I wouldn't have made it. I would have been one of those mothers who died on the table all those years ago. Anyway, lovely stories.
Has anybody got anything about the film, or should I stop the recording?
I think we're done.
Oh, yeah.
It was great. I enjoyed it. I know others didn't enjoy it, but they had a cerebral time.
Appreciated it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can enjoy it for a filmmaking experience rather than happiness. Like, oh, I feel good.
I wouldn't say it was a happy experience for anybody, would it?
No, but it made me think, and I enjoyed that. And it makes you think about what makes you human, you know? Which I think is a really big question. What makes you you?
Yeah. See, whereas I just liked it from the idea of a different style of alien invasion. Like, this is not what you normally depict.
Actually, and that's one of my that was one of my favorite things, is where it's like, oh, you know, and Benny Wong's character says, oh, it was alien, you know, what form did it take? You know, and she's like, I don't know, because what form did it take?
Yeah, that's right.
And then he said, you know, well, what did it want? And she said, which I thought was so true, she said, I don't think it wanted anything. Like, it's like any any, like all the other creatures, it just wanted to be and do its like a cell, an organism, right? An organism just wants to be and multiply, and that's what it wanted. It was that this is what I
almost think it's wrong to call it alien in some respects, because I don't think it's so much creature, because that's what we picture when we say alien. Yeah. It wasn't that. It was almost an alien effect. It was an extraterrestrial effect that's affecting our world. It wasn't a single being. It wasn't a creature. Yeah. It was just an effect that was having an effect on our world.
Yeah. It wasn't. It was weird, because I don't know if I would call it intelligent life, if that's what they talk when you talk about aliens. I don't think it was. It didn't know what, it wasn't sitting there going, these are the things I want to do, which apparently is different to the book. But I don't think it was knowing what it wanted. Like you said, it was an effect, or it was an organism.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was good.
It was good.
Yep.
Anybody want to add anything?
Excuse me. Just that I really like Jennifer Jason Leigh, and as soon as she was on the screen, I'm like, oh, something bad's gonna happen.
I thought it was really. I think it's also really good to see her in. I always think about her in 80s movies and stuff, so I really enjoyed seeing her sort of in a role. She's a woman in her 50s, and I like seeing her in that type of role, and I liked how her character was depicted as very experienced and strong and skilled, and I agree. Yeah.
Okay. All right. If anybody actually made it this far through all of that talk of labour, I'm super impressed that you like scary stories. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you another time. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.